All right, perfect. We are recording. So the admin portion of this meeting, attendance again will be taken based on who is here. The duration of the meeting is no more than 2 hours. The notes from the last meetings have been published in the Docs and Files section of VCI and Basecamp, so anyone can see those whenever they want and can add comments underneath them. And we have a recording of last week's meeting that you can click on if you want to watch that again. Are there any short announcements from outside the group that need to be made at this time? No. Okay, great. And our next meeting will be February 25th at the same time on Zoom. Can we have, well, are there any reactions, comments, or additions to the agenda that we need to make? Has everyone had a chance to see the agenda? No additions, no comments? Oh, yes, Patricia?
I can't remember if there was a break scheduled in.
You're muted, Anne.
There is one of 5 minutes.
Okay, I didn't see
Sorry.
it. I'm sorry.
I thought that I was unmuted, so yeah, there is.
I'm sorry I didn't see that. Great.
All right, Jamin?
Yeah, just one proposed little addition, and we can talk about this more during the after party, but I wanted to mention it while Silas is here. We have a very active and interesting conversation, including email back and forth following the block party about the whole Allen Savory world and holistic management, veganism, etc. So I just wanted to suggest we maybe spend some time, and we can do the bulk of this in the after party, just talking about how we might keep that great conversation going. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. So there is a section of time for you to report on the SRM study group. Do you want to potentially just expand that topic a little bit? Okay.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
Okay. Then we'll add that into that portion, and we'll make that with that one change. Does everyone consent to following this agenda? And we have Ray and Melissa who have just shown up. Excellent. And Sarah, we don't see you. I'm going to take your consent unless you speak up at this moment. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on with this agenda. So we decided, Benjamin, Suzanne, and I decided that this would be a nice time to begin to include other groups into the VCI group with reports. And it occurred to us that the groups that we are totally aware of, and there may be others that are doing some really great work, but the 3 that we know are doing some work are the Nature Study Group, because the bulk of us are on the Nature Study Group, the Pinky Promise Tour Task Force, and the Solar Radiation Management / the Block Party now. And so we thought we would give each of those groups 5 minutes to give a report on what it is that they're doing. And I was hoping that Keith was going to be here, but he isn't. Is there anyone else who's on who would like to make a quick report about the Nature Stewardship Group? Okay, I'll go ahead. So the Nature Stewardship Study Group has decided that they too are going to start working on their vision, mission, aims, and culture. And so we have begun to work on collecting questions. And so we're in the process of collecting questions for that group at this time. And we're modeling that on the same work that we're doing in this group. And some of those questions, already are thinking about where there are overlaps or gaps with other groups and what that all means. And so that seems kind of interesting. And we'll see how that goes. And next week we will have additional information to share. And as more and more groups, we will reach out to other groups, and as more groups see what it is we're doing, we will continue to add them here to give reports, quick reports, each week at the VCI group. Okay, the next report that we wanted to have was a Pinky Promise Tour Task Force. Suzanne, are you ready to give that report, or Benjamin?
Yeah, Pinky Promise Tour is definitely coming along. We have been getting responses almost daily in terms of confirming some of the events, and some of them are looking pretty awesome. There's going to be a discussion panel with Jane Velez Mitchell down in the LA area, as well as a few farm sanctuaries and educational type centers that are going to be on the tour as well.
Including events with a lot of people on this call, which is really nice. So thank you all for your help. And yes, we'll get better at presenting updates as we go.
All right. And I'm going to ask for questions at the end of all three groups. We'll just do it that way. Jamin, we know that we have a report to make on the solar radiation management and the Block Party.
Before Jamin goes, can I jump in real quick, Jamin?
Oh.
The Pinky Promise Tour does have a standing weekly meeting at noon Pacific time on Mondays. If you ever want to come in and ask questions of us, the first bit is us being able to ask questions of Dr. Rao. So if you want to hop in a little after noon Pacific time on Monday with Pinky Promise Tour questions, that's our open house for that.
Excellent. And actually, I do want to jump in and welcome Ray and Melissa, and the person who is on the phone with the 206 phone number that we don't see a picture or a name. Welcome. And we are into the agenda up to item number 6, which is a report on the solar radiation.
Melissa is saying that is her cell phone.
That's my phone, and because I can't get through on my computer, so I'm using my phone for voice.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent, Melissa. Thank you for clarifying that. And welcome. Welcome to both of you. All right. Jamin, you want to go ahead and share with us what happened with the solar radiation management and the Block Party?
Right. So this is all within the context of the Block Party, because we haven't really had meetings outside the Block Party on SRM of late. So the Block Party went for the full 24 hours. I want to thank everyone on this call. I won't go naming everyone, but everyone on this call was there for at least part of it, except I think Jackie might have been busy with other stuff, but she was definitely there in spirit. And anyway, so it went for the full 24 hours, and it was awesome. Oh my goodness. We had a really awesome, 3.5-hour segment on solar radiation management with Professor Guy McPherson, Dr. Yetow of Harvard, lots of other participants. It was just amazing. Then we had a really awesome, albeit it's sometimes difficult for us to, meet with Alan Savory. Hey, Kamaya. And that, we were talking about veganism and holistic land management and all that. And most of us were there for that. And that in particular is a conversation I would love for us to continue. Silas and Alan Savory and I are on an email thread where we're kind of bouncing around some ideas. And I put out there on the thread the idea as an idea as a potential synthesis that we could create a grazing program in Southern California run primarily by vegans, where the animals do the grazing, therefore do the soil regeneration and all that, except different from other grazing programs around the world. We do not kill or eat the animals, ever. Rather, let them live full, long lives and even have somewhat of a retirement home for older animals. They could be combined with a petting farm, just really make it holistic. So anyway, I'd love to continue to explore that idea and any other ideas that we can develop that can kind of help bridge these two worlds, if indeed they need bridging, which in my opinion they do, because I feel like I get Alan Savory's argument that animals are the only way to reverse desertification. But Anne was the first one, so I'll give you credit to say, hey, if that's the case, great, but just don't kill or eat the animals. So anyway, lots of interesting ideas. So I would love for us, the vegan community, to continue to collaborate in building bridges with not only the Allen Savory community, but many other communities. And I think the Block Party is a great venue for that because it is so open and neutral. So the Block Party will continue every Friday, starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time, Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, etc., and go for a full 24 hours until 6 a.m. Saturday morning. And we'll continue to flesh out a nice, full, rich agenda. We're going to put a lot of emphasis on SRM, solar radiation management, because we are overheating and we need to cool the planet urgently. Develop all the other topics we talked about, which included a new story for humanity and lots of discussion about collective intelligence itself as well. So that's the basic update. If you would like to lead a segment, Jorge led the first segment this last Friday. Thank you for that. Jorge was at both bookends, both the beginning and the end of Friday's meeting. He was kind of blown away that we were still there going strong 24 hours later. But anyway, if you, and yes, I'm talking to you, if you would like to lead a specific segment on any relevant topic, please reach out to me. Sarah, I'm going to mute you and then unmute you in a moment. But if you would like to lead any topic, any group, and I know you got your hand raised, Sarah, please reach out to me and we can schedule it. 24 hours is a long time, so there's plenty of time for all different kinds of topics. So an open invitation and encouragement for people to join in. Sarah, I'm going to unmute you, and because it sounds like you have something to say.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and start the questions for any of the
I just wanted to
groups.
ask a question, what Alan said about the animals. Would he want to bring in, because, we're not talking about breeding animals to put on that land. It would be animals that would be rescued to put on that land. I didn't get that part.
That sounds like a great idea. I mean, all we have is really the seed of the idea right now, but I think that's a great idea. Rescue animals.
Yeah, we don't need any more. We don't need to breed any more animals. I mean, I would like to have a law where we stop all breeding, just all breeding in general, because 4 million dogs and cats are killed every year because of, breeders. Yeah. And I just mean, there's no way. I didn't really, maybe I'm not sure a lot of people agree with me or not, but I didn't care for Alan at all, period. Just don't agree with anything that he says about eating animals at all. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. But other than that, that's all I have to say. But yeah, I can't even deal. Yeah.
So I actually think, and Sarah and everyone, it might be a really good idea, Jamin, to have an hour or 2 hours in the Block Party set aside to have this conversation, because at this particular point, we were asking for a report from each of these groups and clarifying questions, not to begin another discussion at this moment. Not that another discussion is warranted and needed, and I think a lot of us want to have it, but it's not at this moment. So if we could ask either during the Block Party or at another time that we have another time set aside to have this conversation, I think that would be great, because I'm pretty sure I already have 10 ideas, comments, thoughts, and I'm pretty sure that everyone else here does too. So are there any other clarifying questions for either the Nature Stewardship Report, the Pinky Promise Tour Report, or the SRM/Block Party Report? And maybe we'll just change that to the Block Party Report next week. Yes, Melissa.
I just have a really quick question, Anne and the group. We've been thinking of questions for the sociocracy for, you know, the aims, visions, and mission of BCI. And one of the questions that has come for me to submit came out of this discussion between Sailesh and Alan Savory. So I'm just wondering if you could remind me how to submit that.
So, so that's a really interesting question, Melissa, because we closed the time to collect questions for the VCI group a week ago Monday. So these questions are important, and so we need to be able to set them aside and hold on to them for using in another place, right? But we've already moved into synthesizing, and we will start answering questions either tonight after the meeting or tomorrow. So Jorge, I'm going to ask you to also jump in here. What I'm thinking is you write your question down and we hold on to it and figure out where it needs to go. Jorge, can you help me out here?
I think that I agree with Dan.
Okay, so Melissa, please write that down and email it to me. I will hold on to it, and then we will figure out where does that go. Does it go back to the block party? Do we start some sort of a thread there with questions? Do we funnel that into another one of the study groups? You know, for example, the nature stewardship group right now, I mean, if you send that to me, that might be a good question for the nature stewardship group, which is just beginning to collect their questions. So, okay, cool. All right, any other questions? Any other clarifying questions for the three groups? Okay, we don't need to make any decisions on that. We're going to move to the status report on the VCI process proposal work group. And again, I wanted to do a quick overview where we're going to look at the whole process just to remind people of what we're doing. And then we're going to spend a good bulk of time on the piece of the process that we are in the midst of doing at this moment. So the first, and we chose a week for each part of the process. And tonight we're going to ask that we amend that by a little bit because of the amount of work that this actually entails. But the first step was collecting questions. And so we said we will take 1 week to collect questions for the VCI group from everyone in Basecamp. So we sent the invitation out to 300 plus people, and we received back 124 questions. And the second week, we looked at doing two things to those questions. One was synthesizing the questions. So we were looking at how many of those 124 questions were repeats, you know, things that were asked in a different way, but were really part and parcel of the same question. And the other piece was categorizing those questions. Which of those questions had specifically to do with the vision, which had to do specifically with the mission, which had to do with the aims, and which had to do with the culture. And what we realized, we were hoping, and we were quite optimistic, we were hoping that there would be a number of people who wanted to join the group to help figure out how to do all of this. And the truth was either the process is too new and not enough people really understand what we're doing, or people are just really busy, and a lot of new people did not join us to help us figure this out. So we have ended the collecting questions and we have moved into synthesizing, and we realized that because of the 124 questions that we need to split the work up a little bit more. And I'm wondering, for those of you who were working on the spreadsheet, can you help Benjamin, Shankara, and Jorge with some of the other questions, like how many people submitted questions and how many questions were for each of those categories? Can any of you help us with that?
Sure. I just took a look before the meeting, and it looks like eight people contributed to the questions. 7 of us were involved in synthesizing and categorizing the questions, which was a fun process. It also took a lot longer than we thought it would as a group to go through questions one by one. It would have taken at least a few hours to do as a group, but we ended up doing a little bit of that offline. And as a result, the vision got 35 questions, the mission got 11 questions, the aims got 15 questions, there were 45 questions about culture, and about 18 questions that still need to be discussed further. And that's what I've got so far.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating to me. Wow. Okay, cool. That was helpful. That was helpful for me to hear. So culture is the thing that people had the most question about. I don't really know what that means, but I think it's really fascinating. And I'm guessing that as we get into answering all of these questions, there will be some insight into that. Does anyone else that was part of the process proposal group that submitted questions or helped to synthesize them want to add any comments, insights, wisdom about this process so far? Okay, so that's just a quick overview of that second step. And then as a reminder, the third step is answering the questions, which we are going to talk about in some detail in just a couple of minutes. And then the fourth step is creating the proposal for vision, mission, aims, and culture statements, which will come back to the full group. And then there will be a consent about each of those. So are there any clarifying questions about the overview or about the synthesizing questions part of this process? Hi, Nancy. I just noticed.
Hi.
First you came in on the left side of my screen and then you moved to the right side. So welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
Okay, no clarifying questions. All right.
I think I have a clarifying question about in the same manner that we did the consent last meeting, we need to do that for this step of synthesizing. So I wonder if we could repeat what we did last meeting of taking the 5-minute break just to read through the list that Benjamin described. So when we return after the break, we can do the consent round on that.
And actually, Jorge, I actually put the consent under item number 9 instead of under number 8 so that it is after the break, and didn't say that because I thought we might have a little bit more conversation once people had a chance to look at it, and I realized I didn't write it into the agenda. So in my head, which I don't know why you all just don't get what's in my head, you know, that was the way, yeah, sorry about that. But you'll notice it says report and consent on the experience. It should say discussion and consent.
Sorry, I'm laughing. It's just like I ate a bunch of chickpeas and I'm very gassy.
Well, I think my brain I guess, was kind of like that when I was doing this. So can we, or can you or Benjamin pull up the spreadsheet that shows the categorizations and the questions? Oh, here it is. Jorge put it right here so we can click on it. And so what we would like to do is that during this break, we can take a look at those and then come back with questions that we have from actually looking at them for a few minutes. And then we will do the consent to the work that we have done so far. Does that make sense to everyone? And does anyone have any questions about that? Yes, Benjamin.
I just want to clarify that on the spreadsheet, there is a column called priority, and those are not to be taken literally. That is, they kind of are. We are using them as a priority to work our way through the levels of vision, mission, aims, and culture. And then, but in order to categorize it, I was just using what was available on the spreadsheet to categorize them. So the essential priority is the vision. The reasonably important category is the mission. The not so important category is the aims. No longer relevant is the culture. And then the unassigned is things
To be discussed.
are things to be discussed / proposals.
Right, so the categories sound like they don't really make sense because we certainly don't think that culture is not relevant. So hold that in your mind. And I'd also like to back up a step because I just realized that there's a number of things in the chat that have been going on that I was not reading. And I just want to make sure that everyone has seen that. Ray said that the Solutions Club at 2:00 Eastern time on Tuesdays is a great place to recap the goings on of the Black Party. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Myra says, and welcome Myra, are you, oh, you are here. She's sorry that she's late. She'll be here for about 20 minutes because she's got another commitment. So we're glad that you're here for the time that you can be here. Ray said, FYI, I have begun a transcription of segments of Sailesh and Alan's first meeting so people can respond topically, idea by idea. Oh, Ray, that is so cool. That is just so cool. Excellent. Okay, and then Jorge put up the link to the spreadsheet so that people can take a look at that while we take, what do you think, is 10 minutes acceptable to take a look at this? 10, does someone else want to? Yes, okay, people are saying, yeah, that would be good. Okay, so I am literally gonna put my timer on for 10 minutes and we are going to go ahead and take a look at that and come back with additional questions and discussion, and then we will ask for consent to move forward with the next phase. All right, thank you so much, and we will see you shortly.
Are we allowed to tell jokes here? Do we have to sit quietly?
Ray, as long as it's not distracting the questions, reading the questions.
This is the 1 minute warning bell. 1 minute left of our break time. Okay, that was our 10-minute break. So if people can come back, that would be great. And I'm going to talk just for a minute about the way that we figured out how to categorize the questions. And I think this was a phenomenal idea. Oh, Melissa has a question already? Okay. You want to go ahead and ask your question, Melissa?
Yeah, sorry, I was just unmuting. So just reading over all 121 questions, if I got the numbers right, the one thing that really jumped out at me is that they're all questions related to internal workings of Vegan Collective Intelligence, but there wasn't anything that really explained to me how Vegan Collective Intelligence relates to, connects to the outside world and vice versa. And I found that that was really missing. I'm just going to bring up what came to me around the Silas Alan Savory conversation was, how do we as groups with different beliefs come together to co-create a way forward? And I somehow think that has to be built into this. So that we can move major projects forward together with people who are not necessarily vegan or vegan yet, while we're in a period of transition. So I just wanted to throw that out there for conversation. Thank you.
Okay, so this is an interesting line of conversation, given the fact that in this particular process, what we are attempting to do is to figure out what the vision, mission, aims, and culture of the VCI group is within the Vegan World 2026 project within Climate Healers, right? So there are these levels of things that we are working within and trying to figure out. And so I actually, in some respects, I mean, that is a question that is important to every level of every group. And I wonder where you start having the conversation. Is it at the macro group? Is it at the subgroup? I don't know. Ray, yes.
I think after we answer a lot of the questions, that will become a lot more clear.
Right.
Bit of a catch-22. I was going to say chicken and egg. I hope somebody would have called me on that.
I know, finding those things all of the time. Yeah, I think it is a bit of a catch-22, and I think it's an incredibly important question, right? So again, we want to hold on to these things. Yes, Shankar.
I think what Melissa asked goes more towards the aims. Correct me, okay? It looks like more aims question. Once we are clear with the, like Ray said, or once we are clear with the vision, mission, all those parts, then it's more like a day-to-day planning, and it partly touches the culture too. So I feel the question I am immediately, when she said, one of the things came in, because I asked a similar question, that's why I'm thinking, and You remember I told we have to keep one interaction, invite another person, and so that there is a constant exchange between climate vegan world 2026 and with external people in a more like inviting them for a lecture. Then those people going to invite their people here, and we'll be stepping loud. Like best example is Alan Savory. Yes, we agree, disagree, but now we can go and see things more from their point of view, and they can come and see more things. Somebody who watches Alan Savory with Sailesh Rao, they might learn something more. I didn't know that part exists. So I think it kind of aims and culture part can shape that. The vision and mission might rule it out. Oh, it's not even relevant. Don't even talk about it. So that could be a other thing. But if we are going that way, probably I feel that way. And the days ahead will set a clear structure to it.
Jorge, was that raising your hand to contribute here? No. Okay.
Scratching, sorry.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure. It's hard, it's hard to keep everyone all of the time. Yes, Melissa.
I really feel this is really an important topic, because in order for us to heal the planet, I really feel like we have to co-create these things together. And sometimes our own personal vision or emphasis has to kind of change a little bit because we're in this weird time right now. It not necessarily could just be black and white, Sometimes we've got to mix our blacks and our whites together to get gray in order to move forward now without isolating ourselves. And I'm a little concerned about that. How do we not be fragmented, but embracing to co-create solutions forward that may not be right and perfect quite yet, but they're good enough and they're safer than the alternatives that we have right now. So, yeah, sorry, I just, it's really sitting in my heart right now, this issue.
I think that we're all in significant agreement that this is a particularly important issue to continue to grapple with, because I'm not sure that there is an easy solution to this particular issue. And this group is in the middle of a process in which things may become much clearer once we get through that process. So again, we're not putting this aside, we're just finishing the process that we have started with. Yeah, Ray?
Maybe it's a question. Is this another way of articulating this? Is this a question that we need in the essential questions? How do we communicate outside of the group? We do need an answer to it.
Benjamin?
Yeah. I think that it may have just been a question that, we would have hoped to have at the point where we were asking questions. And that way, I'm not sure how this process works at this point when a question is introduced in the middle of the synthesizing part where we've already consented on the questions and are moving forward. Jorge, if you've got any input, that'd be awesome.
I remember some of my questions that might be related to the concern that Melissa is sharing, and I would like to paraphrase them. I think there's a couple like, who is VCI open to? No? There's another one saying like, do we all need to be vegan to be part of VCI? And there's one that is parked right now as to be discussed that talks exactly about this. That I would like to read. Do we at VCI want to find and cultivate on common ground between vegans and pre-vegans without feeling we are walking on broken glass? If yes, then for what? So maybe it's not like the channel or the medium, but I think that is being addressed somehow in Radish's Block Party project. I believe that that's a way to connect to other silos, no? Like don't get into only people in vegan world are going to be part of the conversation, but these platform outlet, I don't know how to call the collective intelligence block party 24-hour Friday to Saturday. But yeah, like maybe that's a way to understand how are we going to plug into that with or without a culture of how to do exactly what Melissa's concern is, no? Like,
Yeah,
like
and this is kind of interesting to me because the group that was meeting at the Black Party was not VCI. Okay, VCI was not officially at the Black Party, right? There were many people who are a part of VCI that were at the Black Party, but it wasn't VCI as a group. So again, there's a piece of me. So you know, I'm nerdy about this process stuff, right? There's a piece of me that says we could never finish this because we would just keep adding questions and adding questions and adding questions and never finish it. There's not one piece of me, not one cell that says that's not an important question, or that's not a question that needs to be addressed, or that's not a question that needs to come back into this. Not one piece of me. And certainly, I'm going to pretty much guarantee that there are questions we wish we had thought of before we got here, and that will be true every single time we do this. So again, I think making sure that we capture this in writing and in voice, that we come back to it, whether it's this Friday at the Block Party or whether it's in the nature stewardship group, because it's kind of on point there. It's on point everywhere, really. But yeah, that's, I mean, I share that urgency about this is a big deal to figure out how it is we are going to interact with, you know, all the Alan Savorys of the world, or all of the people who think in different ways. And we've got to be able to figure that out. And it's not only up to VCI to figure that out. That's a thing for each of us individually, and VCI and Vegan World 2026 and Radish, and right to figure out all of that. Yes, is that Sylvie? And then Ray?
Patricia.
Oh, am I next? Oh, is Sylvie next?
Okay, I'm going to go quickly. Like, it's more a suggestion or like a thought. Like you mentioned that there will be always questions that we wish we had thought of. I mean, not every question will be there to make it into the vision, like word by word or mission or in the aims. There will be more like probably a Q&A section that will be there for people to read. And who says that this Q&A cannot be amended or like added on later, no? Like that we can add questions as they come along. Also, Sociocracy is not written like for the next 100 years. We say, okay, for the next 3 months we try with this, and then we can collect questions even within that time frame, I guess, and then see, okay, these new questions came up, maybe we can add them to the Q&A. It doesn't mean that we always have to change the vision, mission, aims, but I guess the Q&A section is a good spot to add those things that we wish we had thought of before.
Thank you. Patricia. You're muted still. You need to, yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just going to add something similar, that's the beautiful thing is that there's always more additions. That can be an aim, that can be added. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about it, that this is not the end. And so that's all.
Ray.
Based on what Jorge said about that question, I went and looked it up. It's now shuffled down to no longer relevant. The one about the walking on broken glass. I think it might be walking on eggshells, but you know, different degrees of severity, I suppose. So is this for this process, is that a vote to bring that one back up from no longer relevant to reasonably important or essential?
Well, remember that those categories, those words are not really accurate. So it's not that it's not relevant. It's that, Benjamin, you have to help me out because the essential questions, yeah.
We are just, so it's just an order, the order in which we answer the questions.
But I think Ray's point is, you know, right now, Jorge's question, which we think links up with Melissa's, is categorized as like
But
to
it
be
could
discussed
be-
later. So maybe
Yeah,
for
yeah.
this process and consenting, we can bump it up to be discussed sooner than later.
Unless it's down there because it's similar to a question up above and I haven't seen it yet.
No, I think it was more just that we needed to discuss it more, that we weren't ready to answer it as is.
Yeah, looking over the questions, that was my experience, was the answer to this question is going to reflect hugely on this next one. It may cover the bases. I hope it covers, you know, whatever topic I got in my mind. And if it doesn't, then I think there would need to be more questions. It's really hard to I understand what you're saying, and every question begets 5 more, and we could be doing this forever. But there's, I think, as we start to answer them, some of them will just drop off as already forgone, and other ones will be like, oh, that really changes the flavor of this question now. Like if we decide that, yeah, all vegans stay out, all non-vegans stay out, then obviously it's going to affect a lot of other questions. I don't think we'd come to that conclusion.
Right, and the question before us at this moment is that a question that relates to vision specifically? Because what we want to do next is to move into answering the questions that are specific to the creating a vision statement. And so the group that discussed this and categorized them said, we need to hold that one because we're not exactly sure where it needs to go. If this group is saying it needs to be moved into vision, and then we should move it into the vision part and say, this is in fact a vision question. Because again, these things about being relevant or not relevant or essential, those words are words that were there, but really what we were saying is which questions go toward vision, which go toward mission. And we're going to answer the vision questions first because that's the biggest statement that we're going to make. Jorge?
Yeah, I just realized, like, I agree with Ray. Actually, Ray, I would love to have you in the last step, because this interaction, it was, we did the best, like, to integrate everybody, like Shankar and Suzanne and Benjamin got together like a fabulous survey to get the input of everyone, even if they couldn't make it to the meeting. I know that we are like split into so many projects already, but this is exactly how things would have run more poly voice, or I don't know how to say, like with as many voices as possible. But having said that, I just realized that for me was a very important question also. So right now I don't know. I went into the original list, and I see that it is not a vision question which has a priority, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4 culture. So I don't know why it is into the discuss parking spot right now. I don't know.
It's not. It's in the culture. It's in the culture section because unassigned is the
Parking lot.
is the parking lot.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, Ray, it is not like completely put into the last. It is culture is the one before the last, and I agree with you that it would have been a very important topic to have even before the conversation between Mr. Savory and Dr. Rao. But you know, like, we need to deal with that, and maybe this is a good starting point to get this conversation going as a parallel process of what we're doing in this BCI and culture process, to start to talk about this in maybe in the coming up Friday. No, I think that was one of Jamin's suggestion, like how to get this going and to have these opportunities to say how are we going to open up to the other silos. So
and the question for me, the question about whether this is a question related to vision or whether this is a question related to culture is an interesting, I mean, each one of us probably defines each of those things slightly differently. And so whether I don't know, I guess for me, it's less important about whether it becomes part of the vision or part of the culture, as long as it gets answered, as long as we deal with the question is most important to me, but that may not be true for other people. Other people may have a very strong sense. Melissa?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to belabor this, but these are just things coming to me listening to all of you speaking. And that is that it's quite interesting having a set period to find questions, because sometimes these deeper questions take time to percolate up from the soul, you know, and sometimes it takes an event to create a question. And so the process isn't allowing for that. That's one thing I just wanted to mention. The other thing is that this is the beginning. This is the first time it seems that we as a group are working on sociocracy and kind of following this structure, which is new to all of us. But what I'm just hoping is that this collective here will be able to create a new form of working, a new form of visioning that takes something like anything any of us do, whether it's veganism or animal advocacy or artful advocacy, and really taking it into a new realm. And so it might ask of us to just blow ourselves up out of this normal standard way of doing things to include some radical ideas that this might be one of. And I just, yeah. Okay.
Shankar?
Yeah, this is like my comment. I think I kind of see the outcome, but I'm also saying as of now, like when the question comes, I think we are trying to plug them like a Lego puzzles or something like that. Instead of that, what we can see things is as a layers, like a painting layers. That one question has a relevance to more. As long as we get the image of vision, as long as we get the image of mission, then these four structures are there. Then probably anything comes, any future question comes, can be handled through these four channels. That's what how I feel, because the questions will be keep coming. And are we trying to see? We are already trying to see is it a zebra or a horse, or is it a donkey? Or that's what we are trying to see, I think. But we can calculate. We can just say this is a equine family, and then we can go. Correct me if it is.
Suzanne, I think that your hand was up, and I went to Shankar, so I need to give you a chance, and then Jorge.
I think I'll pass to Jorge, actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susanna. I hope I channel whatever you wanted to ask or to say. I think that absolutely Melissa's concerns are valid. And like I said, this is not like a fixed process, but we need to keep like an order of things. So what so many people contributed with their time during a week needs to be honored somehow, as much as the questions that raise eventually afterwards. So a middle point between both, I guess it would be to start answering the questions, which is one of the most time consuming, but at the same time enriching aspects of the process, which I would love to see more people, like I'm talking about Jorge, no? To see more people involved in this step that is crucial to have as many voices as possible. And of course, like starting from point A, we will move to point B, then to point C, then to point D, which in this process will be the culture, where this question of walking on broken glass between silos needs to be answered. And if that is congruent with what we have worked in point A, B, C, fantastic. We keep going to making the proposal. If not, we revisit. Like, okay, we already said A, B, C were answered, but now that we're in D, we're finding out that we're not congruent. So there will be a moment to be non-linear. I don't know if I'm explaining my head to all of you, but I think that there will be a point that if we're not congruent, of course, we're not going to move forward. We're going to revisit what we already answered. So I think Melissa's concerns are going to be answered, maybe not now, no, and to put it in a priority on the vision level of first answer questions, because this is really a culture question. And we really need to have a vision first. If we don't have a shared, congruent vision, we can't have a culture. Like putting into perspective, maybe in a comparison of a house, we can't put the decoration if we don't have walls or a flooring, you know? So we really need to say, oh, we have a home. Now we can decorate it, right? That's the way that maybe we can engage better into this process. And remembering the magic words, good enough for now, safe enough to try, nothing is written on stone. There will be moments to revisit and to make new proposals. Thank you.
Are there any other, well, actually, I wanted to back up a couple of places. So when we first came back in, Patricia had written this in the chat about the fact that this is one tool that can be used to develop mission, vision, culture, and aims. It's not the way all organizations that use sociocracy develop the vision, mission, aims, and culture. There are many different ways. There are lots of ways. This is the one that we have chosen to use and to try here. And I'm not even sure that there's better or worse. There's just a number of different ways. So this is the one that we made the decision to use. She goes on to say that the consent decision-making method that we use is a cornerstone of sociocracy. Sociocracy 3.0 recommends that organizations take parts that are needed and use the tools that are applicable and keep building the governance structure as we go. And that seems to be also a cornerstone of sociocracy, that it isn't an entire package that you have to do every single piece of in order to be using sociocracy. You begin to use it and then you add in more tools as it becomes necessary and it assists and supports the work that you are doing. So without sending everyone through a sociocracy week-long training, without spending money on a sociocracy consultant, fortunately, Jorge and Sylvie have a fair amount of experience. Patricia has a fair amount of experience. I think there are a handful of other people who have experience using sociocracy. Some of us have read about sociocracy and done some research and watched some videos. We're trying to use it and figuring it out. You know, we're building the path, right, as we walk it. So thank you for that, Patricia. That's a big piece. I also wanted to say that the way that so from VCI, we said, who wants to help work on developing this vision, mission, aims, and culture statements? Who wants to get down and dirty about how we're going to figure this out. And a handful of us, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 of us said that we did. And so those people have been meeting both together and looking at things individually, developing spreadsheets, figuring out how to do things. And the way that we categorized all of these 124 questions is that a smaller group of people, I think it was Benjamin, Susanna, Shankar, but I'm not entirely certain, so you can correct me, developed a survey where they put all the questions and then said, is this related to vision, mission, aims, culture, or is it maybe something else, or you're not sure, or does it need more discussion? And a bunch of us, not everyone, but a bunch of us went in and took that survey, read every question and said, I think this is this, I think this is that. And then we had a phone call or a Zoom call where we went through a bunch of those and said, you know, there were 7 people that did that survey. So we're going to go with, as long as there are a minimum of 4 that say it goes in one place, we're going to put that there right now. That's how we did that. And part of that was time saving, because it takes a lot, 124 questions. I think I looked at the time that we were doing it, and it was like 1.5 minutes per question was what the average was. So it was going to take a long time, 240 minutes. That's 2 hours just to go through those questions. So that's how we figured them out. And everyone is welcome to join that process in full. We were hoping we were going to be inundated with people who wanted to participate. Unfortunately, we weren't. So I think that all of this is really good, and it's all going to develop more as we move forward. And I think there are going to be, what we're attempting to do within Vegan World 2026 is support the biggest transformation humanity has ever gone through. This is not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be the simplest thing that we have ever done. And there are going to be lots of points at which there are going to be strong feelings, and that there are going to be, hiccups or whatever. And we're going to just work through them. We're just going to stick it out, and we're going to work through them. And I think we will. I think we will. Okay, other clarifying questions, comments?
There's one from Sarah in the chat.
Shankar, what?
There is a question in the chat.
Oh,
Sarah.
Thank you. I can answer those survey questions. Sarah Siegel. So Sarah, you can. So did you answer the survey questions, Sarah? Because I think we finished that piece of the work yesterday. We finished that piece of the work, and so now what we're asking is, when we asked you to go and look at, when we asked everyone at the break to go and look at all of these, was to familiarize yourself with them and to come back with any questions that you had, and for us to be able to move to the point of saying, yes, this is good enough for now and safe enough to move forward with, to try at this point. And we're going to ask for consent to move forward with this list of questions in these categories. That's one piece. And then the second piece is that we're going to move into talking about how we answer the questions. And we have some ideas on how to do that, where we invite, again, the largest number of people possible. And hopefully there are going to be some more people who want to help in answering those questions. So the first piece is, are there any more questions, clarifying questions on the synthesizing process? Okay, excellent. Then I'm asking if we can consent to the group of questions that are categorized as vision questions, for us to accept those questions to move to the next stage of answering those questions. So the issue is, yes, I consent to that, or I have concerns, or I object.
I guess we can use, like last time, the chat box. So that's faster. So everybody can say consent or consent to
Okay.
concerns or object.
Excellent. Okay.
Consent.
Oh, it would be nice if I could spell. I obviously can't.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Benjamin and Susanna are both, right? Both consents. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 consents.
All
How
right, and
many?
we've got 15 people on the call.
And we're 15 people, so we're missing 3.
Or even more.
Nancy consent. That's 14.
I think.
And the other one is Melissa. Okay, Melissa is twice, one with her phone and one with video. And Jamin is
Saying consent, yes.
where is Jamin?
Jorge and Sylvia.
All right, cool. So I will be.
Sarah's the one that isn't consented, isn't it? Sarah, are you able to type on you're on your phone, right?
Sarah. Okay.
All right, so we're going to go ahead, and Sarah, if I still don't see Sarah here. I'm going to believe that either you are consenting.
Yes, she consented.
She did consent. Oh, there you are. There you are. Excellent. Okay.
I
All
can
right.
say.
So
I'm good.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. So
okay, you're
now,
consented, and I will fill out the Excel, the spreadsheet section of consents, and I will show it a little bit later, like so we can see that it's already filled in. Because I think that you want to move on, right, Anne?
yes, well, and I wanted to talk about the fact that we are asking to actually extend the timeline, because we are going to focus this week on answering the questions that relate to vision, so that we can come back next week with a potential vision statement. And then we will go back, and we may learn enough this week that we would be able to answer more categories of questions next week. We may not. This ended up being a bit more detailed than we had thought it might be. So we wanted to make sure that people understood that that was what we were doing. We are focusing on the vision itself this week. Is there more, Jorge, that we need to talk about that?
No, it's fine. I also see that Mayra was missing on her consent, and she just consented and she said goodbye. Thank you, Mayra. See you soon.
Thanks, Maya.
We want to celebrate. We have a consent.
Yes, we do. We have a consent, and we do want to celebrate. So,
Appreciate Jamin, take it on.
Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para darle alegría, cosa buena. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría, Macarena. Hey, Macarena.
woo!
Fabulous.
Woo!
right.
Okay. So now we would like to move on to talking about how we are going to answer the questions. And I actually think that there's I actually don't know who came up with the specific idea about how to answer the questions. Who did that? So what I remember from our conversation was that we're going to list the questions as a comment, and then underneath that, anyone can go in and answer that question, so that there'll be one question as a comment, and then a bunch of answers, and then we'll figure out how to edit that, wordsmith it. The process proposal group will do that. So any person can go in and answer the questions, and they'll have a week to do it, you know, so that people can put in partial answers, they can put in phrases, and we'll be able to figure that out. And I just thought that was brilliant, rather than having some big, so you don't have to answer every question. If there's one you really like, you can answer that one. If you want to answer every question or participate with answering every question, you get to do that. I just thought that was really cool. And yet I can't remember who came up with the idea to do it that way. Okay, maybe it was a group. No one's taking the credit for it. So maybe it came about as a group.
I think Jorge talked about it, but it reminds me of how Ray set up the original, the questions that came from the conference, the Vegan World 2026 conference, are questions in the message board. But I think Jorge, you also proposed that we do the same thing.
I would like to honor everybody's contribution, and I think the collective intelligence part of what we talked about in the beginning of the first block party was collective intelligence and collective ego and collective trauma. So I think we are now in an opportunity to move beyond giving recognition and credit and take the credit shared.
I like that.
But I think that Susan is right. Like, this has already been done, and Ray did that originally on the base camp. So this is an opportunity to say how much of our work is already done already. So we need to open up also to that, to see what is already done and not try to invent the hilo negro, the black thread. I don't know, like the wheel. I think you say it in English, not to reinvent the wheel. So thank you, Ray. And if you want to join this process, I am putting the link, so you can click on it and you will be added to the proposal work group. So wait, I sent it only to Patricia. Patricia, you're very invited, but you're already there. Okay, here is the link to everyone. And with that, you just click it, you will be added to the proposal work group. And there, we will put all the questions, one each, in the message board. So everybody that wants to be part of that, go to all the questions that you feel that you can contribute with an answer, boom, and write it down. Consider that it needs to be concise, that it needs to be readable, that it's 124 questions in the long run. This first week, we're gonna dedicate it to, I believe it was 30 that Benjamin counted for vision, around 30. Yeah, so consider all of these, that we don't need to make an essay out of each question, just like a very concise blurb of what our contribution wants to be.
And I actually misspoke a little. I said we'd have a full week, but we really don't, because by next Monday, a group needs to be able to pull all of that together. Because if we get 7 answers to a question, we need to be able to come up with a single answer to that question. So what do we think that we want to say by Saturday evening, so that we've got 2 days to take a look at those? So by Saturday night, if you want to answer a question, you should go in and answer it by Saturday night, so that we've got Sunday and Monday for the work group to take a look at those and come up with one answer to be able to come back to the group with. Are there other questions about, yeah, Ray? Right.
I got confused about the questions that I put into the different groups and how they relate to these questions. Because those ones relate to specific topics per study group.
Right. Yeah, no, we were just talking about the way that you separated each question. It's not that those questions come here. It's okay. that you put each of those questions individually so that people could see them very individually. And that's what we're going to do with these. Okay, Melissa?
So I'm still learning to use Basecamp, and when I go on that link that Jorge, you put up, do we go to the docs and files, or to the, where do we go for answering questions, please?
Are we doing them the way that I did? Because I put them into the message board.
Oh, they're on message board.
One question per item in message board, because so each item has a discussion field below it, so you can comment to our heart's content on one topic or answer the next one in one question.
Yeah, the questions are not there yet. This click is just to join the team that is going to work on the answers. So right now, if you click it, you will just join that team. And then you will get a message or something. Okay, guys, actually you will get a notification for each question that is going to be posted individually as in the message board. That's the way it works.
Thank you. Thank you.
You actually can post them without notifying for everyone. You can post it and it gives you the option of who you want to notify. So you can, and this is probably why they have that feature, you can put them all in there without everybody going ding, ding, you know, separate email for each one. But you'll see that as you're putting them in. These are all going in the VCI project, all the questions?
No, in that link that we put, like in the link on this chat box right now that I shared last.
The VCI proposal work group.
That will make you join the VCI proposal work group. That's
where the questions are answered.
That's where we're going to post the questions. First, the 30 questions of vision. Those were going to be the ones that we're gonna work on for Saturday. We said, like all from now till Saturday, and we need someone to start putting them. I don't know if we can. Like I'm putting the consents. Can someone start like working on adding the questions? Benjamin, Shankar. Shankar is doing it.
I have a question, not volunteering. I have a question.
Oh yes.
Yeah, this is more from. See, there's one thing when we were asking questions, people typed all their comments. We were copying, pasting in the questions. So then there are a lot of other questions and it's going in a more chat mode. Is it okay? Can we do it like another Google survey so that one question has the equivalent of like how we did this time, among our proposal group we did. I'm seeing it's easy to compile all in one column at the end, or any thoughts on that?
Patricia?
Well, I think it's really important that we can see the other answers, because we might see that someone has already answered. I do see a problem with people getting 30 pings. So if we can figure out a way of, avoiding that, I mean, they'll get 30 messages, and maybe we can talk about that in the group that is, organized.
I just went onto the VCI process proposal work group, went into the message board, started a new item, and at the bottom of it, it says, when I post this, these 12 people will be notified. And it has a list of everybody that's in the group. And then there's a hyperlink that says change. So I could click on that and choose who I want, and I can deselect everybody. And then for the very last one, I could turn it on and say, hey, everybody, all the questions are there. I could share screen if you want to see, but it's pretty straightforward. It makes sense once you're looking at it.
I think that makes a lot of sense, to let people know once when all the questions are posted up there. So Jorge had asked the question, can either Benjamin or Shankar post the questions? Are either of you guys good with doing that right now or tonight? Benjamin is. Okay. So Benjamin is going to post the questions, and he's going to turn that off except for the final question when he'll send something out that says all the questions are now posted and we can start answering them. And we have agreed that we are going to accept answers until Saturday evening.
I think we can split, so it's not like the burden to one person. Maybe if Shankar and Benjamin are on board, we can say, Shankar, please do 1 to 10, Benjamin 11 to 21, and I'll do the rest. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, cool.
And the questions are all numbered, so that makes it actually work really easily. Okay, cool. Thank you. This is one of those times when I wish I had a lot more technological savviness, but I don't. So, okay. All right, any other questions about answering the questions? So the people who are not on this group, but who are on the process proposal work group will be notified and will understand that they can go and answer those questions as well. Okay, any other questions about this process? No. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Okay, then we wanted to talk about, and we talked about it a little bit, that we need to get the vision proposal made. And again, this group is going to propose a vision. So next week, our goal is to show up with the answers to all the questions that were related to vision and a proposal for a vision statement, at which time the full group will have a conversation about, does that make sense? Does that capture what they think about this group? And we will have discussion. And again, our goal is to leave next week's meeting with consent on a vision statement for VCI. And then I would hope that we will all know how to do the Macarena, so that we can have a big, the Macarena, however one says that, it's been a long time for me, so that we can have a big celebration about the fact that we got that piece done. I think that, I believe that between answering these questions and coming up with that proposal this week, we will have a much better idea of how the work will go for the mission, aims, and culture. And we may say we need to take a week to do each one of those. We may say, we can do the mission and aims in a week, but we're going to hold the culture to do another week because there are so many questions. Or we might come up with some other idea. I don't know what it was. We were, I think, quite optimistic when we set the timeline for all of this. So we appreciate that everyone understands what we're trying to do. Is there more that people, yeah, Patricia?
I'm just wondering, I have a concern that we're going to have new people come next week. They're not going to understand the process, and we're going to have a lot more questions and concerns. I'm just wondering if there's any chance anyone could synthesize what we've done up until now and say, if you want to help with this decision making, I mean, you're welcome to come to the meeting, but first you need, but in order to, I don't know, just watch the video so that you can really know what's going on and be a contributor. I'm just wondering if that would be possible. Because I'm concerned this process is going to get longer and longer as new people come and don't understand what we've done.
Yeah, I share your concern. I share your concern. So here's an offer. I will offer to try and put something together that I come back to the process proposal work group with. When we look at these, something that is not very long, but is actually in writing, so that we could get it to, when new people show up, we can somehow get it to them, maybe through the chat or something, We can say it at the beginning of the meeting, but then if people are coming in throughout the meeting, we would have something. Would that be acceptable to people? And then we can decide not to do it at all if it doesn't seem to work.
If I understood correctly, like once we post all the 30 questions, it will have like an instruction. Hey guys, it's ready. Go for it. Start answering from now until Friday. Right? Like that, what you're proposing, Annie, is going to be that, or it's
No.
Oh.
What I understand Patricia to say, and I might have misunderstood this, but what I understood her to say is that next Tuesday, let's say we get people who have never shown up, but they come in next Tuesday, and then they start asking all sorts of questions about what we've done over the last, or about what we're doing, not knowing that we've been working on this for 4 weeks. And so maybe we need to have something that says, hey, if you're brand new to this group, we're in the middle of a process and we welcome you. We're happy that you're here. And we need you to kind of observe what's going on and maybe connect with one of us, after the meeting or tomorrow. But we don't want to back up and describe the entire process in the middle of this meeting. Is that what you meant, Patricia?
Yeah, that's what I meant. And also, because I think we're moving towards a place where we are going, anyway, I don't want to get into a sidetrack. However, I think it would be great to have that description so people who are answering the questions know what has come up. People are going to come and answer, what? I'm going to answer the questions. They have no, maybe they're coming in the middle of the process. So it'd be great to have it even then at each question. If you want to know what this is about, read what our process is.
Well, the questions are posted in the process proposal work group. So those questions are not posted in the entire Basecamp.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Right. So the people who are going to be answering questions are people who know what the process is. We asked for questions from everyone, and we asked anyone who wanted to participate to join at that point. But to your point exactly, continuing to invite people into the process when you're, 3 miles down the road is tough to do. So we invited all of Basecamp, all 300 people, to submit questions and to join us. And there were not any joiners at that point. So the people who are going to answer the questions are going to know what we've been doing.
Okay, thanks.
But it's still the issue that people show up who haven't been coming and don't know. So I still think we might need to have at least a short statement.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my question is, do we post an, excuse me, or bless you, or whatever we want to say there. Do we want to open it up again with within the larger group, the Vegan World 2026 group, to invite people to start in on the process now, or do we want to avoid that? Are we trying to avoid that? Because I was wondering if we could make another post that says, hey, we're now at this stage, here's what we've done so far. If you'd like to start answering some of these questions, feel free to join in at this part if you'd like to, or ask us or whoever needs to be asked to be brought up to speed so that they can answer the questions. Or are we trying to, are we saying that part of the task is over and we are now, whoever has shown up are the people who are answering the questions? That's my question.
So my thinking about this is, if we were going to open it up, so my thinking was we open it up to everyone in the first step, and that people who wanted to join would join at that point. If we want to do that again, I think that we say, you need to talk to one of these 3 people to understand the backstory. And then you are welcome to do that, but not to just go straight to the question, because I think that would be really difficult for people to do. So I don't want to exclude anyone at all. And yet I also think that that's kind of a difficult thing to do. Ray?
Are we talking about people that haven't given consent in this chat right now?
We're talking about opening it up to all 300 plus Basecamp members. So we
But they're
did
going to be
that.
posted in the VCI process proposal work group.
Right.
So we're answering the questions in that group,
Yes.
and we're trying to decide whether to share them with everybody.
That's
No,
the
we're trying
question
to
on the table right now.
We're trying to decide whether to make another post that invites people to join in on the process, and then we would facilitate them getting access to where those questions are being posted.
Wow. Is that the sociocracy thing to do? Or is there the people that have started this process, you continue it? I think that's what Patricia was hinting at, that it's, you open up the gates and then the questions, you really would go back to start, wouldn't you? You'd have to defend the questions.
Shankar?
Yeah, I think it's an evolving process. What I feel is somebody who comes into the Basecamp, and depending on what they want to commit or what they want to share and do, or they want to be a study group or action, I think they might, once they start asking, probably then we can steer. Other than that, the things being in the place probably might give enough attention for them to ask. And based on their interest or based on the meetings, if they are joining, I think the meeting is the first place, or the people who browse through is the second place. If they are attentive and active there, they're gonna be part of the meetings or part of the process in the action items. And if they are not even making it there, they might contribute and like posting in the common area or something. Like they might comment or they can do, but they have to be also active, right? Or else they'll be just like an interruption in the sense coming to one meetings, like missing all the meetings. That's fine, but I'm halting the meeting to ask all the questions to move the agenda and disrupting the agenda. So I think it's the skin in the game, if I have to say in that way. Like, yes, I'm curious, but I should also have the patience to be there to learn. Then I would challenge or question or be part of it. That will make it more progressive.
Does anyone else have a thought that they want to add? Yeah, Ray?
Some of the questions, I was thinking of what Sarah said before. I'm ready to answer all the questions. I don't feel at all confident to answer some of these questions. What is VCI to Vegan World 2026 is a pretty loaded question. What is Vegan World 2026 to climate healers? I don't think we have any right to answer that. We didn't create either entity, and we're answering for climate healers now.
Well, wait. Sailesh is part of this group. He doesn't have to.
He's not in the process. He's not in that project.
He's not on the process.
I realized that when I said everybody consented, and I realized Sailesh didn't.
But he is part of the VCI group. So he certainly is aware of everything that we've been doing, and we can certainly reach out to him to ask him those questions.
But that's my point. You're right. We can ask him those questions, but we're going to answer them?
Certainly.
See, that's the collective intelligence. Like everybody answering is like making a relation. It makes a relation. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the way I understand it is there is a relationship between Vegan World 2026 and climate healers.
Yeah.
And we all met because of Vegan World 2026. So now I guess it's just to like have it in writing, like what is that relationship? And we might need to go ask Dr. Rao in order to have a final answer, but I do think it's relevant to our work here.
Oh,
to
absolutely. And there may be many questions that we have to go to someone else to gain additional information in order to be able to answer, for sure. I don't know. I'm not looking at every single question right now. Some of them are obviously very easy. What does VCI stand for? We can answer that question. What is the relationship? We're going to answer that. And by the way, these answers are going to come back to the full VCI group. So they will be, those answers will be consented to by whomever shows up, right? Because we don't have a process where there has to be 50% of the group because again, this is a complicated thing, maybe even a complex thing, to have moved into a place where there is no governance and begin to put a governance model in place and begin to figure out all of this detail. Usually, when someone starts an organization, they put a governance model in place immediately and then start to build from there. There was no governance model in place, and so we're trying to figure that out. Now, the great news is that Sailesh created Climate Healers and Vegan World 2026, and he is a specific member of VCI and does come many times, and he will see whether he is at the meeting or whether he reads the answers. These answers will be written out and he will see them. So there's nothing that is secretive or manipulative or anything else about this. And he has been invited to join the process proposal group. He hasn't chosen to. He knows all about it. So yes, I do think we have a right to answer the questions. And if he didn't think we did, then I would certainly have hoped he would have told us that before this point in the process, because he has been on multiple meetings. Patricia?
I just want to notice that our time is almost up, and I wonder if we can, in order to move forward, can we get consent to extend for 15 minutes so we can make the decision? If my clock is right.
So, yeah, right. It is, well, mine says that it's 56 minutes. So we have 4 minutes before the end of the meeting. So yes, we need to have at least an additional, I'm not sure, 15 minutes, maybe an additional 10 minutes. Is everybody okay with us continuing for another 10 minutes? And Melissa and Sarah, Ray, are you not comfortable? You are, okay. Okay, so Melissa and Sarah are not on screen, but we're gonna go ahead. They could leave if they decided that they did not want to be here. I don't think we have a decision to make, honestly.
Oh, we don't need to consent to doing, for some reason I thought we had to consent to doing those questions, but great. So we just have to do a checkout.
Right, we actually did do a consent to the questions earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And this was, right, this was a discussion about the way that this was going to happen and a report on how we were going to finish the rest of it. It didn't actually require a consent.
Okay, great. So all we have to do is just check out then.
Right, right. So, but I do want to make sure that Ray and everyone else is comfortable with what we're doing. And again, that this is good enough for now and safe enough to try. And to remember that we are not doing something that is going to be set in stone and impact us for the next, 10 years. So are people comfortable to be able to say, yeah, this is good enough for now and safe enough to try? Yes. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Then, thank you again for sticking in with all this stickiness and all this smuttiness and all this, I don't know, there might even be a little bit of quicksand hanging around here, but we're getting there. So we did want to do a checkout beyond thanking everyone for being here and to ask for each person to share a word or a phrase about what they are leaving this meeting with. So can we go ahead and start with Shankar and then go to Nancy, who's been quite quiet tonight?
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed. I mean, a lot of my subtle questions have been answered, and I echoed that as questions from others. And definitely I got more clarity, and I'm more interested in working on those parts, which I feel will definitely give a big picture. And
Thank you. Thank you. Nancy? You're still muted. You're still muted. Nancy. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. I guess I was real quiet. I know it's not like me to be so quiet. I've been kind of in and out. I've had to get some other work done, so I've been kind of phasing in and out of the meeting, but I just love being here. I have to say, you were talking about things being mucky and this and that. I think, you know, we're forming something. We're like a baby, you know, we're creating something new. And I think it's part of the creative process that things might not be clear, but I think that they will be really soon. And I love what you said about the enormity of what we're going to accomplish here. All right, thanks. And I don't believe in a flat earth, by the way. I don't.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Patricia and then Ray.
Oh, I thought she was saying she didn't believe in flutters. I thought she didn't like my flutters. I'm relieved. I think we all need a little bit more than a phrase or a word. I'm sorry. Maybe a paragraph. I always like to follow the rules.
Go for the paragraph, Patricia. Go for the paragraph.
Well, Anne, you're my hero. I know that we're all a part of this collective process, but Anne really has quite a bit of pressure on her. So I love all of you. And I love Anne the same. During these meetings, I'm just like, thank you.
Well, thank you. Ray.
Going over the questions, I had a feeling of I can't wait to see how this is answered. I might have my own answer for it, but a lot of them I'm just can't wait to see what we come up with. So that's part of the spirit that I wanted to bring to the questions, and it's all a great process. I'm quite enjoying it.
Excellent. Thank you. Melissa, and then let's go to Sarah, if Sarah is able to join us in voice.
Gratitude for all of you warriors stepping forward for Mother Earth as guiding lights, and clarity and hope. And I'll look forward to answering the questions in my weird artist way. Thank you.
And we will appreciate the artist's way as well, very much. Sarah,